Participants. Elena argues for EV mandates, subsidies with smart design. Nadia argues cautious against broad untargeted policies. Elena, let's start on what we actually want. Lower climate and health damages from transport, plus a competitive domestic industry. EV policy, mandates on supply, targeted subsidies on demand, and charging build-out moves all three. Where grids are getting cleaner, the emissions gains are large. Add high utilization use cases like ride-hailing, and the benefits per vehicle are even bigger. That's a solid case for policy support. Nadia, I want those outcomes too, but the record shows big caveats. EVs aren't magic. On coal-heavy grids or at peak emission hours, the environmental edge narrows or disappears, and purchase subsidies have grown less cost-effective over time. Too many dollars chase buyers who would have purchased anyway. If we're serious about cost per ton abated, we can't keep paying top dollar for inframarginal adoption. Elena, which is why design matters. Income target the rebates, so support flows to first-time mass market buyers. Tie subsidies to MSRP caps and domestic content to push automakers toward affordable models and local value chains. Put just as much money into public charging reliability and uptime standards. If people can't count on chargers, mandates look punitive. If they can, the transition feels normal. Nadia, reliability is not a nice-to-have. Field studies show failure rates that would be unacceptable in any critical network. Mandates that force adoption without guaranteed infrastructure set consumers up for pain and a political backlash. Before we ratchet standards, we need enforceable uptime, with penalties and interoperability so drivers don't juggle a dozen apps and cables. Elena, agreed on uptime and interoperability, but don't forget the network effects. Each new charger increases the value of EVs and vice versa. If we wait for a mythical perfect network, we'll never cross the adoption threshold that makes private capital pile in. Smart mandates and seed subsidies are precisely how you ignite those feedback loops. Nadia, feedback loops cut both ways. If we front-load demand but the grid is dirty, we solve tailpipes by moving emissions upstream. Then communities near power plants eat the pollution while drivers feel virtuous. Equity demands we synchronize vehicle policy with grid decarbonization and time-of-use charging that nudges demand to cleaner hours. Elena, completely. Time-of-use rates should be the default for home charging, with incentives for off-peak and renewable-rich periods. Fleet and depot charging can be scheduled to soak up midday solar. With that alignment and continued coal retirements, the upstream problem shrinks fast. Meanwhile, local air quality improves immediately because tailpipe pollutants fall even before CO2 does. Nadia, local air quality gains are real, but not uniformly distributed. Early EV buyers skew higher income and in certain neighborhoods. If policy mostly helps them, we risk widening disparities. I'd rather see targeted programs for lower-income households, used EV financing, and electrification of high-exposure fleets. Buses, delivery vans, ride-hail, where health benefits per dollar are unambiguously high. Elena, yes to used EV financing and fleets. Pair rebates with low-interest loans and warranties for the used market. Require ride-hail platforms to meet ZEV shares, and accelerate school bus electrification, where kids breathe the exhaust. Those levers deliver both equity and scale. Still, we need a broad consumer market too, or we'll never get cost declines from volume. Nadia, cost declines are happening, but bottlenecks remain. Minerals, processing, permitting. If mandates outrun supply, prices spike or imports fill the gap, undermining domestic goals. Industrial policy has to be realistic. Diversify supply chains, speed but safeguard permitting, and invest in recycling so mandates don't just shift dependencies. Elena, that's the point of coupling demand policy with production credits and domestic content rules. We want the learning by doing and good jobs here. Also, standards spur innovation. When automakers know a zero-emission sales share is non-negotiable, they commit engineering resources, widen model lineups, and solve charging pain points. Nadia. Or they comply in the least painful way. Limited models, compliance credits, lobbying for delays. Politically, brittle policies snap. Durable policies scale. Make it simple for consumers. Clear pricing at chargers, transparent maintenance costs, and real resale markets. And publish the policy scoreboard. Cost per ton, charger uptime, adoption by income and zip code, grid hour emissions. If numbers look bad, adjust. Elena. Measurement with teeth? I'm in. Add automatic policy dials. If charger uptime drops below 97%, pause ratchets. If adoption skews too affluent, boost low-income rebates and used EV support. If peak hour charging grows, strengthen time of use differentials. Call it adaptive electrification. Nadia. Then let's be explicit about the limits. Don't frame EVs as the only path. Mode shift, compact land use, and better transit often abate carbon cheaper. For what we do spend on EVs, spend where it counts most per dollar. Fleets, high mileage users, and coal-heavy regions tied to grid cleanup. Elena. Fair. EV policy is one pillar, not the entire building. But it remains essential to decarbonizing the largest emitting sector. With targeted subsidies, robust standards, and grid-smart charging, the cost curve keeps bending down, and the public sees tangible improvements. Quieter streets, less exhaust, lower fueling costs. Nadia. And if we fail on reliability or equity, the backlash will set the transition back years. So front-load the unglamorous work. Uptime SLAS, maintenance funding, technician training, and standardized connectors. People remember the one time a charger strand them more than 1,000 smooth sessions. Elena. Message received. Here's my 5-point plan. 1. Income-tested and used EV support with MSRP caps. 2. Charger uptime mandates with penalties and roaming. 3. Time of use defaults and fleet scheduling. 4. Domestic supply chain incentives with recycling. 5. Adaptive ratchets tied to transparent metrics. Nadia. And my 5. 1. Prioritize fleets and high-mileage segments. 2. Synchronize mandates with grid decarbonization. 3. Publish equity dashboards and fix SKUs. 4. Emphasize reliability before speed. 5. Keep alternatives, transit, active transport in the climate portfolio. Elena. We're closer than it seems. You're guarding against failure modes. I'm pushing for momentum. With the right rails, we can have both. Nadia. Then let's write the rails in statute, measure honestly, and let the results decide the pace. If the benefits arrive at reasonable cost and with broad access, the public will carry the transition the rest of the way. Elena. Deal. Build the system so drivers choose EVs because it's better, cheaper to run, easy to charge, and cleaner to breathe. Then policy can step back as markets take over.